Today we're taking a look at these NBA matches, which are happening on Tuesday, July 12, 2023, and giving you our team and total picks for today. Welcome back to High Stakes. Before we dive into our video, don't forget to subscribe and to push the notification bell so you don't miss any of our videos. Also check out our Patreon if you want access to our premium picks. Our Patreon is a way for us to help you improve your chances of making more money. You will find the link to our Patreon in the description and comments section below. Memphis Grizzlies vs Los Angeles Clippers prediction on 12.07.2023. The meeting will take place in the Summer League, which is held in Las Vegas. On July 11th, Memphis suffered a crushing defeat from Cleveland, 177. Will the nominal hosts be able to rehabilitate for this failed match? Prior to this game, the teams have met 52 times. Los Angeles won 27 times, while Memphis was stronger 25 times. And when making a prediction for Memphis Grizzlies vs Los Angeles Clippers, it's worth paying attention to the fact that in the last game, which took place on April 1st, the Grizzlies defeated their opponent without any problems, 108-94. The Memphis Grizzlies brought a young roster to the Summer League tournament. Despite their lack of experience, the Grizzlies performed well in July, winning 3 of their 5 games. They defeated tough opponents such as Philadelphia, Oklahoma, and Chicago. The Grizzlies' young players are talented and have a lot of potential. They are also hungry to prove themselves and make a name for themselves in the NBA. If they can continue to play well, the Grizzlies could be a dark horse in the Summer League tournament. When making a prediction for Los Angeles, you should pay attention to the fact that the club looked pretty good in the last 2 games that took place in the Summer League. On July 9th, the Clippers were slightly weaker than Utah, 99-105, and on July 11th, they managed to beat such a tough opponent as Sacramento, 80-70. In addition, it should be noted that Los Angeles brought a pretty good roster to the tournament, which is full of experienced players. There are practically no young basketball players under 22 years old, the exception is 21-year-old Moussa Diabate. The Memphis Grizzlies and the Los Angeles Clippers are set to face off in an upcoming game. Both teams are coming off of breaks, but the Grizzlies have had more time to prepare. They have played 5 exhibition games and have won 3 of them, including victories over tough opponents like the Philadelphia 76ers and the Chicago Bulls. The Clippers, on the other hand, have only played 2 exhibition games, and their performance has been inconsistent. The Grizzlies have also been the better team in recent head-to-head matchups. They have won 6 of the last 9 games against the Clippers. Based on this information, it is reasonable to predict that the Grizzlies will win the upcoming game. However, the Clippers are a talented team, and they should not be taken lightly. Atlanta Hawks vs Minnesota Timberwolves. Before this game, the teams had managed to play 34 games between them. Atlanta won 22 times, and Minnesota in turn won only 12 times. However, when making a prediction for Atlanta Hawks vs Minnesota Timberwolves, it is worth noting that the last game, which took place on March 23rd, ended with a score of 125-124 in favor of the Timberwolves. Atlanta is in good spirits heading into their upcoming matchup. On July 8, they were narrowly defeated by a strong Sacramento team, 76-80. However, on July 10th, they managed to defeat the reigning NBA champions, Denver, 98-93. When making a prediction for Atlanta, it is important to consider their balanced roster. The Hawks have a good mix of youth and experience, with an average age of 23 to 24 years old. This gives them the potential to be a dangerous team in the Summer League tournament. Minnesota played 2 friendly games in the Summer League and showed completely different basketball. If on July 7th the team defeated such a strong opponent as New Orleans, 102-88, by a difference of 14 points, then on July 11th they suffered a big defeat against Utah, 96-108. However, before making a prediction for Minnesota, we should pay attention to the fact that Williams and Minott played consistently in both matchups. The young basketball players combined for 80 points and 14 rebounds in 2 games. Despite the fact that both teams did not start the Summer League in the best way, Atlanta should not have big problems in the upcoming confrontation. Minnesota shows not the highest level of play. The team lost badly to Utah, 96-108, pulled out a dead game with New Orleans, thanks to a fantastic game in the 4th quarter, 30-13, and the leaders of this team are 23-year-old Williams and 20-year-old Minott. Hawks in turn looked pretty good in confrontations with such strong opponents as Denver and Sacramento, could start the tournament with 2 wins. In addition, when making a prediction for Atlanta Hawks vs Minnesota Timberwolves, you should pay attention to the fact that the Timberwolves were able to win only in the last 2 head-to-head meetings out of 7. We think that in the upcoming game the home team will look no worse than their opponent. Our team pick is Atlanta Hawks will win. Dallas Mavericks vs Golden State Warriors. The teams have played 49 games against each other. Dallas won only 18 times, while Golden State was stronger 31 times. In addition, when making a prediction for Dallas Mavericks vs Golden State Warriors, it is worth noting that the last meeting, which took place in late March, ended with a score of 127-125 in favor of the Warriors. Before making a prediction for Dallas, we should pay attention to the fact that the team brought a pretty good lineup to the tournament. The club has a lot of young players, but there are also experienced basketball players whose age is 25 to 26 years old. It's also worth noting that Dallas managed to play 2 friendly games in the Summer League. On July 8, the Mavericks failed to cope with Oklahoma and suffered a major defeat, 91-80, and on July 11, they showed high-quality basketball and won a confident victory over a strong Philadelphia with a score of 111-103. Last year's NBA champion approaches the upcoming clash with a terrible mood. The team suffered 3 defeats in 4 July games, and the only successful result was recorded in a duel with such a weak opponent as Charlotte, 98-83. Nevertheless, when making a prediction on Golden State, you should pay attention to the fact that the team came to the tournament with a roster with a significant number of young and inexperienced players. The average age of the basketball players is 22 to 23 years old. The Mavericks shouldn't have much trouble in the upcoming matchup. The teams brought to the tournament completely different in terms of experience. While the main core of Dallas is made up of 25 to 26-year-old basketball players, Golden State announced at the tournament a huge number of young players who have their whole career just ahead of them. Also, when making a prediction for Dallas Mavericks vs Golden State Warriors, you should pay attention to the fact that the Warriors haven't looked their best in the last 4 July friendlies. The club has recorded just 1 win and suffered 3 major defeats. The nominal hosts must beat their opponents. Our team pick is Dallas Mavericks for the win. Detroit Pistons vs Toronto Raptors. Prior to this match, the teams have met 42 times. Detroit won 17 times, and Toronto was stronger 25 times. In addition, when making a prediction for Detroit Pistons vs Toronto Raptors, it is worth paying attention to the fact that the last game, which took place on March 25, ended with a big victory for the Canadian team, 118-97. Detroit is in terrible shape for the upcoming matchup. The team has suffered 8 defeats in the last 10 games, with one of them being recorded in the Summer League against such a not-so-formidable opponent as Houston, 113-101. In addition, when making a prediction for Detroit, you should pay attention to the fact that the Pistons brought a very young roster to the tournament, where a large part of the players do not have much experience in the NBA, and the average age of the basketball players is 22 to 23 years old. Recent matches are hard to credit Toronto. The team has recorded only 1 win in the last 6 games. In addition, it should be noted that 2 losses were received in the Summer League. First, the Raptors lost to Chicago with a score of 83-74 and then suffered a crushing defeat with a difference of 23 points from Cleveland, 99-76. Also, when making a prediction for Toronto, you should pay attention to the fact that the club has almost no experienced players in its roster. The leader in terms of minutes played is 19-year-old Grady Dick, who spends an average of 27.2 minutes per game on the court. Before making a prediction for Detroit Pistons vs Toronto Raptors, you should pay attention to the form the teams are in for the upcoming clash. Toronto is not at all impressive in this tournament. A huge problem with realization, 2 major defeats, and young players do not reach the level of their opponents. Detroit, on the other hand, played 2 good games, scored 190 points, averaged 95 points per game, and beat Orlando by 11 points, 89-78. We think that in the upcoming meeting the team from Michigan will look no worse than the Canadian team. Our team pick is Detroit Pistons for the win.